Hello, hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Nwando Ogo, and I'm going to be taking us on this session on how to plan your career path for 2024. Okay, so I know it says for 2024, and that's just because at the moment of us having this session, we're in the third week of December. So, 2024 is on everyone's mind, and everyone's looking forward to closing up this year with some highlights, right? Being able to reflect and to say, I was that much closer to attaining my goals, and also being able to say, this is the gap in between where I am right now and where I want to be in 2024. So hence the needing to plan in this window of time. But really what we want to talk about is not planning per se in terms of, next year I want to get this job type of thing. Yes, that's valid. That's most likely going to be one of the outcomes as a result of the things that we're going to share today. But this is supposed to look at things more from the perspective of how do you actualize, and the pre-work, the back-end work that goes into actualization. So it's more around the thinking and how you arrive at the decisions and how those decisions propel you to actualize whatever your career goals might be, or whatever your progress milestones might be. So my name is Nwando again, once again. Nwando Ogo rather, once again. And I'd like to thank Crypta for giving me this opportunity to come back to talk about this subject matter, as it's one that's quite close to my heart. I've been a people professional for over the last 7 years, and I've had to intervene and interact with people's careers in many dimensions. As HR who's doing hiring, as the subject matter expert or HR business partner who's giving advisory to management and team leads to say, okay, well, here's what's going on with your team member and how to sort of guide them along that journey. Fine, you're working with us, but recognize that you are building your career and on your career journey and making sure there's that alignment within, the job you're employed to do and how you would like to develop. And then just generally one-on-one, right? Just in building relationships with people, in having interactions with my more junior colleagues, right? We get into talks about, oh, this is how I'd like for my career to go, and give me some advice or insights or opinions around that. Okay, so we'll get into it. I'll start off with just giving us just a little bit of introduction. I'll breeze over that just to set the context for how you want to think about what a career is. And then I'll go into developing the right mindset, which is really where the juice of the session today is, in terms of how do you do that whole back-end work of getting your mind ready for, not even maybe getting your mind ready, maybe giving yourself all the information and data you need to be able to take strategic, accurate, meaningful decisions about how you actualize your career. And what I wanted to also say there was how you spend your resources. And I'm not just referring to money. Money for me will probably come third on the list of what resources are. But your time, your focus, your attention, your favor, your network, your relationships, the type of conversations, the people you're privy to bump into, right? And the type of conversations you have with them. Are you just going to be doing the hi, how are you, how's family type level of conversations? Everything is fine. This country, things like that. Or are you going to be fully present in where you are at and to see how you can glean insights from the people that you encounter, right? Even from unexpected sources. I'm not sure how many of us think about our close relatives and friends as people who can, give us insights. I mean, I know for me, it was up until I reached a certain point in adulthood that I began to look at people like my mom, for example, right, as an individual who has built a career that, is older than me, right? And has insights to give as, oh, this person was also an employee. This person also progressed. This person also had team members. So how did she lead them? This person was also responsible for adding to the success of the business. So how did she do that? And begin to glean insights from looking at my parent as, the way I would look at somebody outside who was going to give some TED talk, right? And they say this person has 30 plus experience in this industry, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, wow, I definitely want to. But we often don't think about mining the wisdom of the people who are quite close to us. So it's really about putting yourself, the thing that we really, really want to spend a lot of our time today addressing, about putting yourself in that present condition of what it is you want, so that you're now able to spot opportunities when they walk past you. Then we'll go into the career clarity workbook, our learning and development outline and framework that we developed, but we, use that as more of a guide, not just to actually fill it, but more of being able to identify the principles it's trying to convey. And I'll try to, flesh that out a little bit and highlight what the principles are, so that you can use whatever framework. And this is not the only time you're going to have to do the career clarity exercise, right? Once you hit a certain milestone, once you make the advancements that you want to make for the now, you most likely need to come back in again, So whatever frameworks work for you, whatever workbooks work for you, you might even go ahead to develop yours, that's maybe based off of a lot of things you've seen and just personal, it just works for you. And then we'll now go into just a little bit of activity of putting the knowledge to practice, just some pointers here and there, okay, so we shared all these things. How do I actualize? What do I actually go and do? After I've listened to this webinar, what do I go and do? That's what we're going to cover in our fourth section. Okay, so let's set the context. Let's all align on a shared understanding as to what careers are. So the definition, just a quick Google search will provide you with this, and really any quick Google definition that doesn't seek to do any deeper analysis would sort of share or convey the same meaning, right? It's an individual's progress through learning, work, and other aspects of life. There's a series of connected employment opportunities where an individual moves from one job to another, building skills, building experiences, and achieving career goals along the way. So you see that reinforcement of you are learning, you are working, and it is impacting upon your other aspects of life, especially your thinking, right? But in my own words, it's a collection of competencies and work experiences that can be measured in both objective and subjective ways. So emphasis on the work experiences, competencies is quite obvious, right? Oh, I know how to write a business plan. Oh, I know how to stand in front of the stakeholders and present, that's clear. Problem solving, thinking, clear. But why work experiences is because that opens that up to the more subjective things, the more nuanced things, the more, things that you reflect and you're like, that happened. Oh, it's true. I realized after having that conversation with that person, after attending that conference, after being in the room where I was with the CEO and this person and that person were speaking, I was able to get something, or it changed my perspective, brought new light and understanding, things like that. So it's not just the objective things of you have a job, you are doing your role, you get your performance evaluations, you build competencies, the things you could do last year and things you could do this year, there changes. But also almost the way in which you're being refined and processed through, all the things that you encounter, and how that's shaping your mind, shaping your personality. Even though I'm one of the people who encourages people to not make their entire personality about work. And in at some levels, you should have a work persona, because you have to be professional and things like that, even though you still add your touch of uniqueness, right? But still, you spend the majority of your life at work. So it only makes sense that it forms a part of, who you are. Okay, so that's that for definition. There's some types of careers. Theory will tell us 3 types. There might be more. There might be newer thoughts on this, but the ones that I kind of like to go with to establish that foundation and easy to understand categorization are these 3 types. So there's the traditional career, which everybody knows what it is, right? Is what used to exist. I wanted to say in our parents' time, but I might maybe be saying there's a newer crop of generation, right, that's entering the workforce. So maybe we want to say in your grandparents' time, maybe. But when you think about what a typical career used to be, right? It's often you stick firmly to one functional area. What you studied in university was most likely linked to what you went on to do. And you've even probably maybe spent the majority of your career in one organization. Just, so you rose through the ranks. So the emphasis is on following a path. You're thinking more about the promotions and salaries that happen along the way, to the point where when people are studying for promotional exams. That there was a time when promotional exams were a thing. My auntie or my mom or somebody is studying for a promotional exam, serious business, no disturbance, and you had to pass, right? It was based on seniority and tenure. That's really what you were gunning for, and preferably in the same company. Then we went to having the boundaryless career, right? And that's characterized by a lack of job security, focus on transferable skills. So even if you do stay in the same career path, you're moving from organization to organization, maybe covering multiple sectors of the industry, or you are even, going across industries as well. Emphasis there on being self-directed, seeking out new opportunities and experiences because you want to be more skilled, you want to be more attractive to employers. You're looking for a validation and meaning of your work rather than just I get my job done, I get compensated for it. Over time, I know progress is assured if I, play by all the rules as they were. Now it's more of meaning through work. That concept about achieving meaning through work begins to show up a little bit more obviously with the boundaryless career. Then we have the final type, which is the protean career, right? This is purely self-directed. It's purely, when I say self-directed, you can see it there, right? It's about alignment with personal values and goals. That dream I have of myself. And it's not just one dream in this case now, I want to be a HR professional by day, a beauty or fashion expert by evening, a dedicated mother by night, the multifacetedness of an individual coming more to play. Protean careers often value work-life balance, may prioritize flexible work arrangements over traditional measures of success. And I dare say what's happening right now is more of a mix of boundaryless and protean. Now there's a lot of gigs. People who have full jobs also having their side job, whether that's a business they own or whether that is they're doing side gigs. So they have a skill. Somebody I know who was a financial guru by day, graphics designer, tech guy by night, musician by weekend, and that's fine, right? You also have people who maybe might not have full-time jobs, but just are freelancers, and not freelancers in the sense we tend to associate where it's freelancing, right? It's more of I work gigs and they are sufficient enough to act like a main job. And so we're seeing, I was about to say we're seeing more of that. We're seeing a lot of that, right? For some people, I think this would be the only way of working that they would know. But for people like me who got to experience traditional career by proxy, watching my parents and my aunties and people like that. I myself being maybe more in a boundaryless career with a little hint of being in a protean career, right? Why is this important? You need to know the kind of career you want to have. and what the foundation of that is and what the pillars are to inform how you're kind of thinking about it and how you're kind of structuring it. What industries typically play in that kind of career? Tech, creative design, protein career, very obvious. But even though some of the other industries are opening, now with consulting, people outsourcing their services like finance and IT and HR, they're more opening up to, that protein career. But there's still some industries that you're really not going to be doing gigs in, or some organizations, right? You also need to look at what organizations are more open to what type of career, so that you're directed in how you are trying to seek that next opportunity for yourself. Okay, so that's that with the introduction. We can now begin to go into talking about the mindset. And I want to preface this by saying, let me say the tagline, right, for this is show you're working, or show working, right? Oftentimes, why do you want to be in this career path? Oh, I'm passionate about. Okay, where's the evidence? Maybe that should have been my tagline, right? Where's your evidence? And a lot of times, in interviewing candidates and speaking with them, a lot of people say, oh, I have an interest in this area, especially if you're an early career professional, so 0 to 3, right? And haven't had the opportunity to really be exposed to the functional area or the role or the company, whatever it is, right, that you would like to build your career in. So you're really just being driven by your interest and your passion and your affinity for and how attractive this thing is. But oftentimes when you want to now go into deeper conversation, you find out that there still needs to be a digging deep. There's a measure of depth in understanding and awareness that's lacking. And that's really the prefacing of how you develop the right mindset, right? So what are the 4 essential elements to attain careers? I mean, essential is arguable, right? You can decide, no, these 4 are essential to me. I would argue that it is these 4, and that it starts off with self-efficacy, right? Self-efficacy is confidence in oneself to navigate through situations and to attain set goals. Summarized version, right? The longer version, and I'm making reference to something else, is that it refers to an individual's belief in their ability to successfully perform tasks, meet challenges, and achieve desired outcomes in specific areas of life. Right, let's open that up. I know we're talking careers, but things tend to fit in, right? Chances are, if you're good at managing your finances, you would apply that same skill set to managing the direction of your career, right? It's all executive functioning, executive thinking, where you treat yourself as a company and you're the CEO, so you apply the same thinking and attention and time to finances that you apply to marketing and branding. Yes, communicating with people, putting yourself out there, your CV, that's your marketing and branding function. Your financial function being very obvious. Your people function could be like the relationships, the networks you manage and you keep, right? So every area of life, let's not limit this to just career. Your career at the end of the day is an aspect of your life, and that's the wider implication. Okay, it involves confidence in one's own capabilities to navigate situations, overcome obstacles, and attain personal goals through their actions and efforts, right? So this sounds pretty standard. Where you can be saying, I mean, how else was I going to achieve a lot of things? But when you do an evaluation of yourself, you find out that you might have a lot of external constraints that might not be accurate. You're thinking, oh, this hasn't happened because this external thing has not happened, but really not realizing that there's an empowerment and what happens or does not happen to a large degree is controlled by you. Say for example, you're expecting okay, it's Christmas, right? You would like to have some joy this Yuletide season. So you're thinking, oh, it'll be nice if this person sent me some funds or bought me a present. And especially if the person has promised to, and you say, oh, the person defaulted, I didn't do this because I did not receive. Well, did you follow up? You know, I mean, unless you had an outright no, I am not doing this thing anymore. Follow up, you know. So things like that where you are very conscious about how your actions and inactions affect the course of your life. And from a standpoint of conviction. Now, conviction is a word that I think we need to take into 2024. We must all have that conviction that is founded upon the right things, right? And hold on to that so that it keeps us in 2024. But it's from that place of conviction of I am the master of my destiny. Like I'm not a passenger on my destiny, right? Once you have that conviction, right? And I want to summarize all I've said about self-efficacy as conviction. You now move to intentionality, right? It's the difference between believing and doing. Okay, I believe in myself. Yes, we've conquered that one. It's me. I know. No need to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself you are. I know, right? But how does that translate into what you do? How intentional are you about the things you're taking? So that deliberate and purposeful commitment. Commitment, okay, so I know I said conviction is one word to take into 2024. Commitment is another one, right? How deliberate and purposeful, the deliberate and purposeful commitment to set clear, meaningful goals and direct one's actions towards achieving those objectives. Commitment to yourself is key. And typically when we talk about commitments, we talk about other people. But the honest to God truth is that you cannot be committed to other people if you're not committed to yourself. You can't give what you don't have, right? And in keeping your word to people, the first level of commitment is to your word. If this thing came out of my mouth, I would do it. Right? And if you take other people that seriously, you should take yourself even more seriously to say, I said I would do this for myself. Stick to it. Okay? But another thing to highlight about intentionality is be clear, meaningful. So it's not you're not responding. I always like to say this thing. You shouldn't be responding to. You should be addressing things. So responding to is that it has happened and you have come to meet it. Now you have to think about what to do. Addressing is I am forecasting this thing will happen. I will plan for it. And when it does happen, in fact, I don't even need to do anything because it will just go and meet the plans I have already laid to accommodate it happening. Okay? And that takes us to curiosity. So I have my conviction and my confidence. I have my commitment and I already have my plans laid. Now I'm curious, how can I get this done? Right? Who can partner with me? Who can I do something with? Where are the best avenues of getting this thing done? Whatever questions, right? Curiosity always comes with questions. Is that little voice in your mind that says, no, this thing can be done. Oh, that's a better way of doing this thing. Oh, you know that question of the people that are doing this thing, they don't have two heads. That for me is a very, very good indicator of curiosity, right? Because you're acknowledging the fact that, okay, fine, this isn't something that I would ordinarily by myself think that I'm capable of, but it's another human being doing it. So surely it can be done. Right? And you can sort of see how this thing, that sort of standpoint is linking to having confidence, right? You know you don't know this thing. In fact, if you want to make reference to your grades in school, you have no business looking at this thing, but you just know a human being is doing it. What's the big deal? And we too will try. I mean, at most we'll try, right? So it's that powerful human quality that has made us as human beings conquer the world. We've taken over all the forest, all the animals, we're making them go extinct, right? Think about people who, even think about the colonizers. Yes, there's that negative aspect of it, but think about how does one get on a ship and go to somewhere you've never been before? You don't even speak the language. How? Right? No Google Maps. No, okay, before Google Maps, at least when you're going to somewhere that you've never been before, in this same Lagos that you are living in all your life, but this area, never entered it. You look at the map, you see, okay. You get to a point, you ask an Okada man, right? So at least even if map fails, there's another man or somebody on the road to ask. But in this case, you not even speak the language, right? So it's that powerful human quality, right? That strong desire or inquisitiveness to explore, to learn, to gain knowledge about the unknown. And then finally, problem solving, because you are going to encounter constraints, right? I don't know. Maybe sometime, the way that a lot of terms are being rebranded, maybe we'll rebrand problem solving, right? Because the use of the word problem, yes, problems, right? But most times there are constraints, there are challenges, they're just little things, hurdles you need to get over, not issues, right? Not everything is a problem, quote unquote, right? But you're confident, you've committed, you're curious, right? You want to know, and now you have known, and you realize, okay, there's some more work to do. I thought it was just let me know and I will enter, but no, actually, we need to apply a little bit of effort, right? So you now need that problem-solving mindset where it's about cultivating a specific set of attitudes and habits. Yes, because you're expecting to hear, the expo was already in the word mindset. When it comes to problem-solving, typically people want to hear, take these actions. But it is fundamentally attitudes and habits. It's that attitude to say that this thing can be solved. And over time, developing the habit of something happens, you're thinking how to solve it before you're thinking who to go and tell and broadcast that this is an issue, or even by yourself feeling down or bad or sad, but something happens and you're like, okay, what made it happen? You're going straight into the thinking and the analysis of it, right? So those things that make you naturally inclined to overcome obstacles, right, and achieve desired outcomes. So it's quite important, because we're saying that you want to go ahead to craft the thing that will be with you for the rest of your life, and you will spend the most on. Again, spend here, not talking about money, right? It's one of the things, but I'm talking about your time, your focus, the things you don't do, the time with your family, loved ones you don't spend, the things you want to do for yourself that you don't do. Your career is where you spend the majority of your resources. So you have to really you need to go into it with the right toolkit, right? Fully armed. Apart from having a toolkit, all the right tools are in it, and they are all arranged in the right places. That type of feel. Okay, so what are the effects of this, right? Let's try and link this a little bit to the theory that we went into. Career journeys are shifting. The career landscape is shifting. The other day I caught myself not including, the qualifications and requirements in a job description, because I said, there's really no need for it. I can't remember the last time I looked at somebody's degree, to as a must, in terms of to help me make the decision as to whether this person was qualified for the role or not. Because it doesn't matter these days, right? It's more about what you know, what you can do, how well you can do it with little or no supervision, and at what rate you're able to develop faster. So the things that you don't know, you can pick them up. The techniques you don't know, you pick them up. And it's not somebody telling you need to develop. You yourself just know, and you have your own plans, and you're doing everything within your power to become better, right? And I'm sure you can identify with that. Somebody who studied physics but is doing customer care, things like that, right? So it goes back to us identifying what careers are prevalent in our lives today, and knowing what that means, and structuring and not structuring, yes, a little bit of structuring your career for that, but more of how that informs the ways you're thinking about your career and seeking to develop your career, right? So what does that mean? If you have an interest in an area, a passion for an area, practicing self-efficacy and intentionality, pardon me, means that you will make research and learn not just about the career path or the functional area. Like you say, I'm interested in HR, and then you just go learn about HR. And by the way, things are evolving where before you would say, oh, is to be HR officer, the HR manager, the head of HR, that's it. There's a multiplicity and a dynamism to roles these days, especially as organizations venture into newer areas, do newer things, provide on before, product services we had never heard about before, and they're just coming, the more functional areas get morphed, get required to do other things, get required to know other things, because it used to be before that you could rely on the domain knowledge of a functional area. I'm a HR person, I only need to know HR. No, but these days you have to know tech, right? You need to know consulting, you need to know marketing, because how are you building your employer brand if you don't understand marketing dynamics and social media and how to craft that story for your people internally, first of all, and then to now, do inside out, right? Also role titles, right? So you might be, this is also something else that we find is a challenge when we're hiring. Sometimes you need to change the title of the role to get the right person that you're targeting to apply, because they don't immediately associate the title that you put with the work, and they are quite skilled and competent for it. So that's also something, right? Some things are just fancier names. Okay, where HR is now people ops. Sometimes it's fancier names, but sometimes it's that there has clearly been a shift, and that has necessitated that something new be determined. And you would rely on, oh, it's just HR I want. And no, you're supposed to be looking out for people ops opportunities, or people ops knowledge, or skilling yourself in what that means, and the various transformations that the functional area has gone through, the ways in which organizations now need that functional area to show up. Because before, people just need HR to come and sit down, punish everybody, fine everybody for being late. Now people need HR to sit with them, and I'm saying, when I say people, I mean even to the CEO level, to sit with them and say, you say you want to go and achieve this thing, let me sit down and talk to you about how people would align with your strategy. So there's now people strategy. There's now design and development of organizations. I mean, not now, it's not something new, but I'm saying HR now needs to rise to that level, especially because of technology. So a lot of the things that you'll have been employing a HR manager to do, tech is doing it. So please, what are you doing in the office if it's not that you're now being plugged more directly to those high-level decisions around how to craft and organize and make a quality of experience, do team engagements, do culture, do well-being, really, really manage the people hands-on, and really think about people, right? And do people-generated things and not admin things, Right, so things are changing, right? The way businesses need functional areas, they're changing. I think I wanted to mention another type of change. If I do remember it, I'll make sure to mention, but I think I've sufficiently, conveyed to you that you can't rely on whatever you thought the fixed reality was, because it's not fixed. It's really not fixed anymore. So I remember what the third thing is. What are the standard operating procedures, right? What are the best practices, the global best practices? Because oftentimes, COVID, for example, whatever you were doing in COVID, whatever was standard HR practice for you, after COVID had to change. So we're not coming up with new things that are standard practice to respond to the times that we are living in. If you think about what's going on with human beings generally, a lot of mental health things have risen up. How has the work environment and organizations, how have they changed to respond to that? So you need to really, really apply all the 4 elements, right, to crafting your career. Okay, so just to nicely summarize everything I have said to this point, self-efficacy provides the confidence and resilience needed to face challenges. Intentionality guides you in making purposeful decisions that contribute to your long-term success, right? So self-efficacy says it's looking daunting, it's looking like a lot. I know all these things that I've just listed out now, you're like, on top of just getting a job. Shade, I will not still face the problems in the job. So I've been thinking that let me keep my energy for when I actually enter the job, dealing with bosses, dealing with this, dealing with the work, deadlines, closing late. Maybe that's where the stress is supposed to be. Why all of this, before, right? You need that confidence to say, look, this is just a step on the journey. And what's there? What's there that people have not done before? If anything, let me pay the pain now to make accurate decisions than to learn from the inaccurate decisions I took, or the decisions I should have taken that I did not take at all, or the knowledge I should have known that I now went and spent my resources unnecessarily. Meanwhile, look at the straight road here, things like that. Opportunities. Sometimes it's not even that, serious and deep, but just because you're generally just, feeding yourself up on knowledge, you realize there's opportunities. Like I just posted, just before this session, right? I posted something on my status. Lufodo Academy, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, is partnering with Netflix to train Nigerian writers and actors, right? Just reading the news, it was the front page, cover page of this day newspapers. So just because you're just practicing, you have certain habits that, keep you informed, right? You see that opportunity, and I'm not sure how well, they are doing in advertising it. I know I haven't seen any advertisements, whether I'm on Instagram or whatever. I haven't seen, it was even actually somebody's status, right? I saw that clipping on. So me, myself, I'm not doing what I'm saying in making sure that I regularly follow up on the news, or this day is really not my news avenue, right? But that's how you come across an opportunity. And even if that's not where you want to build a career, what if it is an area of interest for you? You're somebody who finds yourself interested in literary writing, in the arts, in script writing. You might not necessarily say, I want to build a career out of this, but it's something you're significantly interested in. Show working. Show your evidence. Be knowledgeable about what's going on in that space. Attend for what it's worth. You never know who you will meet there. You never know what you will gain from there. Fundamentally something, even if it's just to feed your soul. Let's even get into that as well, because there are lots of things we do not because there's any outcome or reward. It's just something you like doing. So if just do it, even if it's just to feed your soul. And it would amaze you how all these things are connected, and all these things have a way of feeding into each other and reaping benefits down the line that you would never have thought, oh, really? I'll give you an example. I started off my career in NYC teaching preschool students, 2-year-olds. I enjoyed it because I like, babies and children, and they're amazing. It's just amazing to see who you are looking at as, tiny, tiny, tiny child. And then they're talking with you and the things they're doing. So it was a rewarding experience for me just in of itself. But who knew at the time when I was doing that, I didn't know I was going to build my career in HR, right? Who knew I was going to spend the rest of my life teaching and coaching? And not from a perspective where I'm giving you hard knowledge. 1 + 1 is 1. Oh, this is, like medicine, things like that are unfixed, but more from the perspective where you are helping people become. And I got to experience that at the most basic level with the most precious age that human beings could be, made sense, right? I'm not saying that every thread in your life will connect, but I often find out that that's the case. But don't hold me to it, just in case you go and do something way off the axis, and you later come back and say, it has not connected yet. Please, you are the master of your destiny, right? Okay, so let's quickly move on so that we can get into the workbook session. I think these are just a little bit of examples gotten from Gorick. Please go purchase, get whatever the wording is, his book called The Unspoken Rules. Again, The Unspoken Rules. And please go to his website. You can see it down there, gorick.com, right? And sign up for his new newsletters. He's my go-to resource for early career professionals, honestly, in terms of demystifying what should I know? What should I do? I know people are telling me work hard, do this one, know this one, but it's not making sense. I know you're saying things, but you're not communicating right. That's my plug for you. Okay, so I wanted to borrow from his work. These are his slides that he shared in a session. I wanted to borrow for that to practicalize one of these things mean, what these things rather mean, right? So we said be curious, be this and that. How does that play out? So curiosity goes with questions, right? A lot of people ask the wrong questions. I have gone over this thing over and over and over and over again. Come and ask me a question I can answer, please. Don't ask me a question Google can answer for you. I would nicely send you back to go and meet Google that you should have met before. And you cannot be coming to me like a blank slate, please. I don't know the other realms of life for you to be a blank slate in. It's not this one. Come with me with a jam-packed slate that has organized itself and can clearly articulate that it has opinions and what its opinions are, so that the work can move. We can align. The point of aligning is that you have your own, I have my own. We find where to join. Not that there's nothing there. And when I say there's nothing there, it's not because I genuinely think people don't know. I think people know. A lot of us are quite smart. Obviously, that's why we got the job, right? A lot of us are quite knowledgeable. A lot of us are quite skilled. A lot of us have just, even when you don't know the thing, you never encountered it before, but there's just something in you that tells you this thing should work like this. I'm thinking, present that, please. And it shows in the way you ask questions. A lot of people don't do themselves justice. Or rather, don't even do their bosses justice, because you will say that person is always making me feel small and I know this thing. It's not my fault. You're the one who didn't present it in the right way. What does that mean? When you are asking a question, or when you have questions, rather, right? Look at level 1 here. You won't clarify, just silence. There's a question burning in your innermost. You won't say it. How am I supposed to know? And I'm using myself as the example and the mouthpiece of all your managers and even parents, right? And senior people that you go and ask improper questions to, well, maybe not questions that are not properly formulated, right? Level 2 is asking open-ended questions. I noticed this thing is not in the right place. What do I do? Please, if you noticed it, number 1, and your conclusion after noticing was it was not in the right place, I believe you are able to go to step 3, which is to identify possible options for the right places that it could possibly be, or better places. Maybe the issue is not right. Maybe it's better. This thing could be placed better, or this would be a better way of doing this, right? And that takes us to point 3, offering options. I notice XYZ. Should I do this and that? We cannot begin to align. So I dare say, it's not I dare say, I insist. Don't ask anybody questions. And this is not just work, because I think it dawned on me that we do this with our parents as well, right? Just noticed that I've been mentioning parents a lot on this call. I mean, it's the holiday season, right? Please check on your parents, spend time with your loved ones. Maybe that's what it is. Right, so offer the options, right? And that takes there's a concept we need to look into. Let me just quickly mention this here: mental load. And that's how you think you're being helpful, but you're adding more load to the person. Because I was already, busy doing something, and you've now come to now ask me, what should I do? So I have to pause and now think about the thing you're thinking, and then think about how you should do it, and then now tell you. Then I'm now also thinking about, if I tell her, will she remember it? Will he get it? Will they do it the way it's supposed to be? More work, right? But just let's go back in. I insist, right? Engage with anybody you're engaging with at level 3 at the minimum. At the minimum, anything between level 1 and 3, Google is there, ChatGPT is there, your own research is there, your own sitting with yourself to think through, talk to yourself, does this thing make sense, is there. Do all of the above. Or go and meet a peer. If it's in the work setting, for example, right? Go and tap your neighbor beside you. Please, how does this thing sound? If it is in the home setting, ask your sibling or anyone else to say, this is what I want to do. How does this sound? Is it? So get some advice, right? But not from the person that you need to go get the answers from, preferably. Level 4 is presenting a point of view. I know we can do XYZ. I personally prefer this, or I think this is the best one because, and I'm actually not even reading, what is on the slide. I'm actually just thinking about it to say, this is what you should do. Because then we can now align on that. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. If you don't ask me questions at this, 3 and above, I actually don't know how to answer you. Because if you ask me if you're at level 1 or 2, I would assume you don't know anything at all about this subject matter. What you most likely need for me is to choose one option and immediately give you feedback so you can go and get your work done so that you're not working overtime. But because of the way you ask the question, I assume no, what I need to do is now explain everything to you, step 1, step 2, step 3. This is what this is. You can go and check it for information. So we have both used our resources, our time resource, our emotional and mental energy resource. And we have actually not gotten anything done. And I might think, oh, I spent time, helping this person improve on their knowledge in this area. I've helped them. You might be walking away thinking this manager just wasted my time and she just talked a lot and I did not even get the answer that I needed. Ask the right questions. So if you come and tell me these are the options, but I prefer this one, you and I can now have conversation, intellectual communion, right? Yeah, and align. And guess what? We now get to understand each other a little bit more. I can say, interesting. She thinks this way. She likes this. She likes that. For those of you that say my manager doesn't know me, my parents doesn't really know me or know what I like. Look, the quality of engagement, you are also a player in what the quality of the engagement will be, right? And one of those ways is through asking questions. Level 5 is sharing a default, right? I'm going to do this, or here's a template, here's a draft, here's a sample, because oftentimes we can't quite articulate the picture we're seeing in our minds. So if you show something, show working again, evidencing again, it helps to push the conversation along. Sharing a default plus deadline, we're really, really deeply entering the realms of work. And the session that Boric did was really talking about it was in the work context, how you are the best person in the room. So I would suggest, again, go check out the book, engage with his content, because he really, really gives you all the hacks you need for work. And you can see on the axis, right, the higher levels of questioning you're able to attain, the more you increase your impact and ownership. And that's because you're now able to meet at very high levels where you can distill the actual juice from your manager and not just information you can get on Google. Again, let me say it, right? I don't entertain questions that people can find on Google. I don't. It's a waste of both our times, right, and energy. And I'm not helping you. I'm sort of handicapping you to not know that you're capable of doing these things yourself if I continue to encourage that. Okay, it's also a time waster, right? Because not oftentimes, you have deadlines when it comes to work. So if we spend the majority of the time just doing definition and example that you could have seen on Google, then when are you actually going to get the work done? So there's also that perspective. So I'll move past this quickly as well. Just some more other examples. So we dealt with when you have questions. There's something, when you're researching. I'm just going to pause a little just so you can just get a glimpse of some of the things. When you're tasked with a project, right? So a variety of scenarios where you can display curiosity and problem-solving mindset, and so on and so forth. So the career workbook. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So if you give me a second, I'll change my view to show that to you and to take you through that. Okay, could we pause the recording? Pause, not stop it. Okay, so here we are looking at the career clarity and learning and development plan. As the title says, it's supposed to give you clarity, more around the articulation of your thoughts, putting it down on paper. Once you can put it on paper, then you're achieving some measure of being clear and also some measure of being able to have direction and to be able to action, right? And then when it comes to the realm of your career, there's a lot of things you don't know. A lot of I know I don't know this thing. So then, the point is to go now, get what it is that you don't know, and shore up your gaps and go ahead and become and then achieve. Right? Learn, become, achieve. Okay. So this isn't anything so technical. I'm just going to breeze through it because it's pretty straightforward. The first thing starts with the self-reflection, right? Just laying out the overview of yourself. So you have your bio page, you have your reflection as to where you're currently at. That's probably propelling you to want to seek to how I can get to the next. Identifying the features of where you're at, what you're happy about, what you're not happy about with where you are at. Then now leading into your goals, your desires, your aspirations. One of the helpful ways that I had this um, highlighted for me is that, when we say goals, not a lot of us have goals, but you have desires, right? So even if you're not able to think about goals because of the way you associate or the things you associate that word with, put your desires. I would like this. I would want to see this. I like, I wish. You can start off with languaging it right like that, right? And use that as the draft that makes you better articulate what the goal is or convert it into a goal, because not everything you like that you should go after. Again, limited resources, right? Of time, focus, network, relationships, money, all of those things. Then look at the current work landscape, your current landscape, and then the wider work environment, what's available, what's out there, what's happening, what can you easily access. Some things may not be, that's not available to me right now, but maybe it'll become available next year, in 2 years. So what you want to do is to make sure that you're accurately positioned to now be able to lay hold on that thing that you want. And then, of course, map the way forward. Okay, I know what it is I want. I know I've set a goal. How do I achieve it? And sometimes you need to get down to the level of how do I achieve the thing that helps me achieve it. So if it's something, say you're into photography, videography, whatever it is, you need a camera, right? You need money to get the camera. So maybe I go do something else that provides the funds for me to now get the camera, for me to now fully enter photography, you see. So that's how it works. The second section covers career exploration, where you want to now begin to flesh that out a bit more. What are my 3 to 5 dream jobs? And remember what I've said about role titles, right? It would better serve you to look at the responsibilities. I'm hoping that the organizations have been intentional themselves about the job descriptions, and it's not just like a standard generic template as to what the role does, but they've put in some hints there, or they've at least given an accurate description of what they do, where they're at, and why they need the role, because those things will help you. You want to also look at why they appeal to you. Instead of doing a career exploration of setting out your goals, there's what I call it, a principle or a framework that you can use to get you thinking about things. It's called Ikigai, if I'm not mispronouncing that. So that's spelled Ikagia. Ikagia. So go look at that and look at all the various ways that has been fleshed out, and that will help you in guiding you to your goals, the way forward, what it is I want to do, especially with identifying your dream jobs or your career path. Second thing you want to do in career exploration is to research. Third thing you want to do is to begin to network. And that takes us to section 3, goal setting. So you've done all that exploration and research work, you've talked to some people, you've gotten some initial feedback. This now helps you to now further detail out and flesh out your goals and to now put them in smart ways. Because maybe the first time you wrote them down, they were more aspirational, more about desire, more about intention, right? Now we need to make them specific, measurable, etc., etc., etc. Right? So what are the short goals? It can be immediately achievable, or I can begin to see immediate progress in this area. Some things might not be immediately achievable, but you can at least begin to see some progress, right? What are your long-term goals? Also, not just this will happen at a longer duration, but more, what will my shorter goals accomplish for me, or how are they connected to that longer picture or final picture? Okay, so Section 1, self-reflection, write your bio, use ChatGTP, leverage the technology of ChatGTP, right? Give it prompts, let it spit out content for you. Speaking of ChatGTP, right, I'm talking about how you can do better with that. Sure, there are a lot of things online about, oh, ask it the prompt, ask it things this way. But I think a go-to hack for you that might be more meaningful, especially when you're giving work back to your supervisor or your manager, and then the feedback is always, ask them to share a ChatGTP link with you, right? Especially if they've just done something that you should have done and you realize that they touched it and significantly improved it. Ask them, did ChatGTP assist you in any way? Did it provide content for you? Can you share that link with me? So that you see the way they guided it in giving them what they want. And you can now learn that as well. Okay, but so fill out this, follow the activities there. In activity 2, you take some personality tests so that you can see the intersect between your personality and what you want to do and how you go about achieving it. Do a SWOT analysis. Identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. You might also maybe want to do some research in this area as to how to fill out this framework. Section 2 is career exploration. List out your dream roles, identify the industry, say your whys. Why am I going after this? And to just say, what, this seems like the most stable career right now, in light of the context of our nation, that's fine. I think a lot of times people are under pressure to give something, wow, no, look, to say, I just want to be able to take care of myself, right? Have a roof over my head, have food, be able to take care of family is perfectly fine. You must not be on a save the world type of mission in your career, right? Maybe career might not be the way you want to have purpose, I think it's important to highlight that because career is not the be all and end all. Destiny and purpose for you can lie in other aspects of life. So if you find yourself in the position where career is they're like, this is a little bit too much work for, I'm not exactly trying to pour all of my life and, establish my legacy through career, that's fine. Your whys can be very basic, very practical, very down to earth, and that's equally as good. What the point is that you're giving your best to whatever it is that you are doing, because after all, you're using your very precious and limited resources, right? And some certain resources you can never get back. Money, you can make money again, you can get back money, somebody can give you money, but time, what do you do? Right. So you might as well make sure you're making the right decision, the best decision you can take at that time for what's available to you, and you're being the best that you can be in whatever you're doing. So after you looked at the dream jobs, for you, it may not be jobs, it may just be some broad career area, right? You need to begin to lock it down to look at the job descriptions. I want to point out something here about having knowledge about the functional area. Like, so my predominant functional area will be HR, even though, I have quite a bit of other functional areas that I roam about, especially because of the seniority of my career level. So, you cannot say I'm just a HR person, you have to know everything, right? But oftentimes I find when speaking with early career professionals in HR, they say they like HR, but they can't tell you about HR beyond recruitment or onboarding or what's another popular one, right? You should be able, even if you haven't been opportuned to be exposed to all the areas on an organization that is above just the operational admin type of HR, be knowledgeable, know the industry leaders, know the new developments in HR, know the entire HR life cycle. And for the HR interested people who are listening to me, HR life cycle, please note it, right? Know the competencies required to be a HR person. Know who the thought leaders are. I keep on saying this thing as a HR person. If you're not following Dave Ulrich, you are wrong. Right? So local thought leaders are great, but there are some thought leaders that you cannot talk about a subject if you don't mention their name. Know them. Especially that Dave Ulrich, for example, is still with us and is still coming up with new things every day because it's directly connected to the pain points of businesses, right? And so I'm coming to, ask you about, talk to me about HR and let's just have a conversation, HR to HR, right? Because we're both interested in the same thing and passionate about the same thing. And you cannot tell me anything beyond recruitment. It's a no-no. It's a no-no. It doesn't show the working of the passion that you are having, Right, so you research the responsibilities, research the breakdown, fully understand the functional area, fully understand the value chain of the functional area. When I say value chain, I mean the ways in which it is used, the roles in which that are developed in that area. From your level of career, whether it's early, whether it's mid, whether it's senior, follow the entire pathway, right? And be armed with that clear, I know. I'm not hoping, I know, right? Activity 3 is for you to just, do a check out of what you know, what you have, and how you can now go and get what it is that you don't. Okay? Moving on to the next section. Mapping your way, right? For the roles that you've identified, you want to map how you're going to acquire. It's not enough to just say, I'm going to acquire. You want to actually map it out. It's also not enough to say, the way I'm going to acquire is that I'm going to take a course. Oh, I'm going to reach out to Nwando Ogo. Since I heard about her on the webinar, I think she's doing HR. Let me see if I can reach out to her. Actually, I've begun to enter how you map it because I was going to say, don't just say this is what you will do, right? Map it. Network and community. Who's in my network? Who can I talk to? Who knows who I need to know? The resources available to you, Google and how there's just knowledge. In fact, there's more knowledge than you even want to know. So you just be on your own, and knowledge will come and be meeting you these days, right? Podcasts. If you're not somebody who is given to reading, even though that should not be an excuse. Let's just get that one out of the way. I don't like to read. It's not an excuse. It's not. It doesn't make sense, especially not these days where you can have things read out to you, right? So what really is the excuse? And when you compare that with where it is that you need your life to be, really, you're not going to get to where you need to get to because of reading, so put it in perspective and do the needful. Section 4 is decision making. Now you have a lot of data. Before you just had your desires, now you actually have real data that is also real in the real world, because a lot of the times the things that are real to us are not real in the real world. Now you have real world data, and then that means you're now informed to begin to make some decisions, right? Lay them out, pros, cons of the things you want to do, alignment, opportunity cost. If I do this, what would I have to give up on? Or what could I have done instead with this thing? And is that in my best interest, right? Section 5 is your final thoughts, any insights, the decisions you've landed upon, the next steps, whatever the case may be. And for 6, you review and update as you go along. You might maybe want to, even before you start, review the process of thinking and articulation. Then as you begin to action, you maybe want to go and review, I thought I would only have to take a course. It turns out that there's somebody who's publishing newsletters every Friday that deals with the thing that I want to learn. Somebody is the end of the year, somebody has made a free resource of, I mean, this webinar, for example, right? Review and update the ways in which the thoughts just changes, right? Be flexible, be adaptable. Okay, and I think that brings us to the end of the workbook. So now we'll just go into just a little, some activities, some pointers as to how to make this a bit more practical. Okay, and I'll share that with you as well. Just a second, my apologies. Okay, I'm just pausing to ensure that you can see my screen as we go into some of the activities that you could take to practicalize the framework and the clarity and the plans that you have. So I'm going to ask Abigail to help me confirm if she can see my screen.
No wonder I can't see your screen yet.
Okay, what about now?
It's still the same thing.
Okay, let's just wait a few more seconds for it to catch up. And as it does that, I'll just go in because I can see my screen on my end and, nothing too serious. You can follow along. So the first thing you want to do is to start by optimizing your LinkedIn account, but you may also want to extend that and optimize all your social media platforms anyways. Because depending on your type of career, so these days, certain organizations, that's important, not everyone. But in certain functional areas and some careers, right, whatever you're putting out there is also a measure of the work you do. If you're in branding, communication, things like that, you might also want to be crafting your public identity to fit into the things that you're doing. If you have a protein career, if you're a gigist, if you do a lot of gigs, definitely whatever anybody encounters about you publicly has to convey that sense of what it is that you do. Maybe with the exception of your WhatsApp status, you can manage that one to just be close friends and family. But anything else that's public domain, you have to put on the persona that accurately installs the perception you want in the minds of people. But chief of them all is your LinkedIn account because we're talking about work, aren't we? Right? So update your profile. Lots of people don't update their profile, they don't check it regularly. Download it, put it on your phone, turn on your notifications, check it day to day. The same way you quickly scroll through Instagram or whatever, scroll through LinkedIn, right? Because that's the Instagram and the Twitter of the professional world. And you see lots of people sharing things, conferences, activities, events, insights. You can quickly connect with these people that are so far away. Like Dave Ulrich, for example, is very active on LinkedIn. Like so active that if you tag him on something and he sees it and he connects with it, he will drop you a comment. How powerful would that be for you to be a HR person and you can say Dave Ulrich dropped a comment on your post? It's amazing, right? So update that, add 3 skills. Now with every app, There's a way you use it. So use all the functionalities. Go find out all the functionalities of LinkedIn and use them. Add your skills, connect, endorse, give people references, ask for references yourself, etc., things like that. Follow 5 local and global companies, right? You say, oh, I like this brand. Well, follow them. Know what's up with them. Be very, very familiar. In fact, familiarity is not the right word. Be so deeply entrenched in what it is that they're putting out there that you feel like you know them like the back of your hand, right? So again, show you're working. Oh, I really, really like this brand, and you can't even say what they've done in the last 1 year. How? So follow 5 industry and function career thought leaders. I've mentioned the one for HR. Go figure out the one for yourself. Both the local and the global perspectives, right? Try and see if you can engage with them. Engage with them does not mean that you now want to come and translate in their DMs. But they are posting things. Drop a like, drop a comment. They are responding to comments. Respond as well, engage with them. Sometimes you have to even engage from afar. You might never really actually directly interact with this person, but just listening to their content is engaging with them. Find 3 professional groups online, and even maybe if you can find, I don't know if professional groups rather meet physically, find out, plan your certifications, not because of, that certifications have as much of an impact as they used to have, but there's something about qualifying yourself in objective ways that people can align with. There's also something it does for you, right? Just internally to have that professional badge attached to your name. It's quite meaningful. Remember, I did not say rewarding, I said meaningful. So there's meaning to be had in certifications. Events and networking, right? Attend them. Recently, there was the African Startup Festival. Attend. Even if you are not you don't want to have a startup, you don't want to work in a startup, but go find out what's happening in the world of work, because we won't be talking about what's happening with startups if we don't talk about what's happening with the economy, what's happening with work and businesses, right? Those things we mentioned. So the thing that you're waiting to hear or wanting to hear, you just might hear it in that arena. And not everybody who has a startup is a fresher. A lot of the people who are starting startups are people who have 20 years, 50 years. They are the people who you are looking up to, that you want to go for mentorship or whatever. They are the ones starting the startup. So go and meet them there. Yeah, so identify 5 events. So I said these are activities, right? And you can see the screen. You're seeing that it's telling you things to do. So for next year, 2024, identify events, physical or online. Africa.com, I believe, is their website. For the ladies here, they focus on ladies, but I think it's actually broader, but there's an emphasis on women. A lot of free webinars. The content that I got from Goric was from a webinar that they organized that was free. So imagine having access to somebody like that, and if you go check out his profile, you see who he is, right? For free. And of course, there was opportunity to interact right there. And, lots of times when you're in webinars like this, you see people sharing their LinkedIn account saying, I'm interested in this, connect with me, I'd like to connect with you. So people you ordinarily would not have had access to, or even if you just send them a LinkedIn, whatever, like directly, right, may not have seen it or have responded to you because they don't know, what you want to interact with them on. Where in a webinar like this, that's free, provided by an organization like Crypto, for example, because we have quite a lot of access to really significant people and people that we are hoping in 2024 to begin to bring to you to share from that wealth, right, of knowledge and experience, right? That's your opportunity right there, but you've not updated your LinkedIn, you've not even opened it in a while. So even when you want to now quickly tell the person, oh, please, can I connect with you on, that when they see your profile, it's not, do you understand? So these are the ways that all these things connect, right? Begin to identify ahead of time the events, online, physical, whatever, that you can attend in 2024, and then find other resources to continue to guide you. This is not a we have given you the cure type of thing. This is a start right, more so engagement, right, to help to get you around starting off well and continuing well. So by all means, find other resources to guide you along your journey of learning, becoming, and achieving. Okay? So it's been a pleasure to be able to bring this to you. I really hope this was meaningful and this was helpful and insightful in some ways. I'm open to receiving your questions. So if you go follow us on our socials, follow us on LinkedIn as well. You know, we talked about LinkedIn. Look out for Crypto on LinkedIn. Look out for us on our social media handles at Krypton_learn. Interact with us, right? Say, oh, I saw this webinar content. I was there when you addressed this. I have a question here, and I'll be more than happy to reach out. It will also be helpful for me so that I can know the ways in which I can come to speak to you on topics like this or areas like this, but highlighting on the things that you're actually thinking about and dealing with, so that it's even more meaningful. So once again, my name is Nwando. It's been a pleasure to do this with you. Wish you all the best and happy holidays and a happy new year in 2024. Thank you.